Howdy, howdy. Happy Friday. We've got a guest with us today. Hey, Daryl, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, Amy. I appreciate the invite.
Your room
Daryl,
is so awesome.
it
I can't
is. We were fawning over that before we came on. Daryl's got the man. That is the history of man. How far back's that go, Daryl? You got 30 years worth of stuff in there, don't you?
Oh yeah, you see stuff behind me representing icons, master replicas. I call 1, 2, and 3 Chronicle collectibles, unobtainium, you name it. I've got a little bit of everything.
Wow.
Man, yeah, you hit some buzzwords. Yeah, I remember. I got into licensed collectibles um, with icons years ago, around '95. And interestingly, I was building up 23rd century pistol kits, and eBay was a new thing. And I was coming out of doing some music industry related stuff. And that's kind of what lit me up and got me into props and prop replicas. So, yeah, good on you. I'm looking at just, man, there's a bunch of war trophies in there.
Yeah,
A
it's a
lot of
little bit of everything.
hard pieces.
I'm not very focused. As you can see, I kind of like everything sci-fi. So, I started off as a Star Trek collector, but just more from there. And I've got a little bit of everything from, Stargate and Battlestar Galactica, obviously Star Wars, and you name it. Quite a bit from the RPF, which Rye, I know you're familiar with, and just a interesting bunch of people and talent out there. And like you said, my start was eBay back in the day, and I just realized I'll be hitting 30 years with eBay in about another year or so, year and a half. So I've been around since the inception, but don't ask me about my opinion on eBay right now. It's not very positive. So
Yeah, understood. Understood. Yeah, there's some great pieces in there, man. And like you said, a lot of us have come to know each other from the RPF. Always important to give a thumbs up over there. Wonderful community. I just got a note the other day. It had been I don't get over there as much as I'd like to anymore, but I was on there 5 or 6 days ago, and I had the little note that 25 years on the RPF. So wow. I think I mentioned it in the last video. In the time that I've been in this full contact sport that is making prop replicas, I've raised a family. I've seen little babies go through high school, college, and now have families of their own. So yeah, it's been a minute. So it's always great to be able to put a face with the name that sometimes we only know as a handle on the RPF or one of the other forums. So thanks for joining us.
yeah, so it's been a journey. I mean, I've been collecting for quite a while, but it really didn't become real for me until I started putting things behind DTOS. And
Oh
I
yeah.
was always a master replica fan. It kind of had its own little individual display pieces, but it's kind of grown from there. But like I said, is a lot of folks focus on like a narrow, but mine is quite a wide angle because I do appreciate everything, sci-fi movies, shows, and there's things that I haven't even got to yet because there's so much content out there. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to like it. But there's also some Paragon represented in there, especially with the Batman collectibles that I have, the grapple and the smoke capsules, and I have a cryo can. I've got quite a few little things, and I just got one I got from you a few weeks ago, the Dune Hunter Seeker. I actually had sent off to my guy to get an acrylic cover made for it.
Oh, cool.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, we like hearing all that. The hunter seeker is near and dear to me. We get the question sometimes why. I think sometimes people are a little surprised when we make some things like that. They expect us just to make the more, the envy goggles are a given, right? The cryo can, a really established piece that's almost synonymous with a given property. And then we trek all the way back to '84 and then give a little love to George Lynch, Lynch's Doom. Sorry, George Lynch. Dokken. Uh, but I was listening to Dokken earlier, so I got George Lynch on the brain. If you guys know who that is, comment below. Thumbs up. We're instant friends. Yeah, Lynch's Dune. Always loved it. We've got to give it a little bit of fan service with the Chris knife. And as I mentioned in other videos, we're probably done. But we're going to go to License Expo. We're going to talk about some ideas for some other pieces. If we can all get on the same page, there's still a couple things I'd like to do with Dune. So thank you for picking that up. It's good to know there's still some love out there for it. We weren't complete fools for making those. So
No, I think Dune was, Dune was real popular, obviously with the re-release and the Daniel Villeneuve version on it. But it was very heady. If you've read the original books, it was a very heady series. It was a very heady series, and it was a series ahead of its time. But I was happy to see the Hunter Seeker come out because it's something that I've always wanted. I do have like a couple version of the Chris knife, and I do have a sound weapon. So I'm just was excited to see the Hunter Seeker come out, but it was so good that I said, this is set up for with a base and a nice presentation. All it needs is a cover. And so that's why I sent it off to get that done so I could have a place for it. But yeah, I'm glad you guys did the Dune. And, speaking on the Chris knife, Bri, one of your discussions brought me to make a decision to buy the Chris knives from Paragon was because you were talking about the metal treatment to it. And that is something I hadn't seen before. And that was something that, if I was to do it myself, I would want to see that as well. So, I know there's other versions out there, but I definitely like that interpretation that you had of it, and I'm looking forward to seeing that as well.
Oh, that's kind. Thank you. Yeah, we worked hard on that. It was one of those things where we've said it before. The Chris knife could have been released months ago, and we just kept fighting the Greeblies there, wanting a little bit of metal on there. Couldn't bring myself after all the work, and we told the history of that prop where it was literally salvaged out of the desert and then rebuilt, the Chris knife portion, that is, and then the sheath was themed along with that, as you see in the film. But yeah, it just seemed like it needed a little extra love. If we're going to go that far on it, let's go ahead and dress it out a little bit in what the mind's eye, or what it's actually supposed to be if it were real. Yeah, it's taken a minute to land it, due to that decision, but I, do it right, and that's the way it had to be done. But yeah, thank you. I'm glad you're going to be getting one, and again, thanks for picking up the other stuff. Jared really likes the Dune series too, and Amy, we were talking about the books when we first started messing with the property, and I'd mentioned how much I really love Lynch's Dune. And then it was, they cut the film short. There's all these holes in it. And if you're into it, you're like, well, I want to know more about the Bene Gesserit and so on. And so that took me to the books. And then interestingly, Amy was reading them, and we were talking about different names for things and how things are portrayed in the book. And so she had read it too. Jared, did you read any of the books? Or
I've done the audiobooks, like the first couple. And this was years ago though. This is like when audiobooks were first coming out. Mm-hmm. I'd have to give it a refresh, but yeah, it takes me back to the original movie and how much I think I liked it just because it was such a weird outlier in the 80s. Like it didn't fit in with anything that was happening with like Spielberg and Lucas and all those big tentpole releases. Along comes Dune. Like, what is this? This is such a weird little thing, and not little, but yeah, I love the designs of it. I love the weird aesthetic that's prevalent throughout the entire art direction and production design. The model ships, I would love to do the model ships, like the Harkonnen ship. I love the new Dune is fantastic. It's a really great cinematic experience, but I think it is missing that very unique touch that Lynch put on the 84 one in terms of the design work and the cinematography and just those elements that make it stand out as that's a odd little gem from 84 that I wouldn't say it's not aged well, but it's kept its unique look and made it all the better, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those movies, we've talked about this before, where if you're just sitting around bullshitting on your phone or whatever, and TV's on in the background, and hey, Dune's on, I will stop and watch it. It's right up there with Jaws, Blade Runner, just those. It's comforting to have them in the background. And yeah, I still very much I love Dune, and it might interest you, Daryl, to know we actually had the prototype done for Duke Leto's ring, and we have a weirding module prototype. It's just the licenses have a short fuse on them, and sometimes you don't get time to get through everything. And those are some of the things we might talk about moving forward. I mean, the work is done. We could press go now on production. It's just we've got to see where our relationship's headed with Universal before we do that. So,
well, that's kind of what I appreciate about Paragon. You can actually talk about that. Nobody else is doing that. So the value in these videos. I mean, who knew Rye's affinity to play disc golf was the reason why the place Rye the Cryocran has its tubes. So nobody's talking about that. Nobody is talking about what it is to approach licensing and how cutthroat that is, and then going through the end details on how you're trying to get machining right and why you made certain decisions. They weren't just made in a vacuum. They were made with a lot of study and detail. And that's something like me as a replica collector, I'm looking for. I'm looking for that attention to detail. You kind of had a good discussion last time with we got a variant 2 with the Rusty. Would people want that? And people like an idealized, stylized version. I think it may have its niche, but nobody in the prop replica community is talking about that at all. And that's why I appreciate seeing this type of content, because you kind of see the thought process that folks went through, the engineering, the challenges, the discussions, and that type of thing. So my hat's off to you for that attention to detail, and also for trying to, you're basically the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain telling us what's going on. And that's information for somebody like me, hey, how hard was that to do and what was involved in that? And that's something that nobody is offering is content. So kudos to Paragon for doing that, because nobody else is. So you definitely have a niche in that, and I'm appreciative that you do that. I think it's definitely information that folks want to see, and that's why I look forward to my Friday videos. It's the latest update, and it's also good to see Jared's Nautilus in the background, and it's good to see Amy's smiling face as well. So it is what you guys are doing, and I encourage you to continue to do that. That's one fan just reaching out to you saying that.
Yeah. Dude, thank you. That's so kind. Thank you. That's more than we deserve, but very kind. Thank you. So let's go ahead and go with that a little bit, man. Why don't you pepper us with whatever questions you have? I mean, we can start anywhere you want to. Anything you're curious about. We always say we're so tired of hearing ourselves talk. It's great to have somebody else on, and so, man, the floor is yours. Hit us with anything you've got.
Yeah. So the first thing, the Dune Hunter Seeker, you look at it, it's a piece of art. It's beautiful. It's metal, mostly. And it's got this beautiful acrylic stand, and it's set up for a cover. And so I was kind of wondering why it didn't come with a cover. I thought that would have been the way to kind of finalize that and knock it out of the park. And I've seen other entities out there do the same thing, and they kind of leave the cover off. So no, that's the first question I have. Was that considered, or was there reasons why that didn't come with it?
We get that. That there's two things. There's one thing that follows that. So 2 questions. From time to time, people will ask, why isn't there a cover on this? Or why didn't you number the certificates or the box? Because sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So let's take this one first. So the Hunter Seeker, Sean will undoubtedly pop a picture up just for people who don't know what we're talking about. This is how it comes on. You've got your plaque, you've got your stand, you've got the Hunter Seeker. Jared, you want to run with this first, and then I can elaborate? Why don't we put a case on it?
So when we always quote these projects out, and we get an idea of what they're going to cost us to make. And part of that cost, every element has a cost to it. And these acrylic covers, they do add a cost to it. And we kind of got to ask ourselves, is it bringing value that every collector will appreciate? And although some will, like yourself, others might be like, you know what, I don't really need that. I'm going to put it in a IKEA case anyway. I don't need that cover. It's an extra cost that is not going to benefit me. It's an extra feature that's not going to benefit me. And another reason is it's another potential point of failure because acrylic scratches so easily. I mean, I've done dozens and dozens of trade shows where we have acrylic covers set up on the product, and every day it's a battle against scratches and polishing them out. So I know that a collector is not going to want to get a piece that, otherwise is amazing, and then they put the cover on it and they see a big scratch on it. It's like, So we tend to aim for that customer that we think really it would be a nice bonus, but it's not a required bonus. It's not a required element to the collectible. They're going to put it in a display case like an IKEA Detolf, and they're going to be perfectly happy with that. So that's kind of our reasoning behind that. It's not always going to be. I mean, we might find something where like, yeah, we want to put a case on this. This would absolutely help and benefit the product and make it that much more of a collectible item. But for the most part, and so far, I think we've just found that let's leave it up to the collector how they're going to display it. And yeah, that's kind of the basis of that.
Yeah, and then I'll add a little more to that. Of course, the size of the packaging increases, the shipping cost, everything goes up. It's not just a matter of, hey, do you want to spend the extra money to make this case? Like Jared said, it also, from a point of failure, the prop could be perfect, the stand could be perfect, and the corner of that case has the ever so slight little scuff. It's coming back. So, and we also, sometimes you have to juggle a little bit. Hey, what's your price point going to be? Does the prop suffer because you have to spend the money on this extra part of the display, or would you rather put that money and effort into the replica? So we always default to put the money into the replica first, make it as best it can be, and then we talk about the stand. Some pieces just have to have a stand, right? You're not going to sell a Ruby's knife or a Hunter Seeker and just let it roll around on the shelf. We're not going to do that. So some things will just get the stand and the plaque, and while other pieces like the Lost Boys bottle, it's just a bottle, right? Because, man, can you imagine? I mean, that packaging is already huge. If we put a stand in it, it would look like a microwave box. And then, of course, shipping in the States is expensive. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it. It's not that we don't think about it for a second. It's just, does it ultimately have to be, and is the juice worth that proverbial squeeze? So that's how we get there. So we do wrestle with it a good bit. So it is.
Well,
It's and I do want to see a picture of it, of course, once you get the cover on it, because that'll be.
The good news story is, though, it is set up for that. So it's slightly bigger, and so you can get a cover on it. The base is already there. So I just was wondering about that. I just think it's a piece of art, really. It's what it is, and so you kind of want to display it appropriately. It's like you said, you got the Lost Boys bottle. Again, it's something that I would put like a cone type of display around, because that's me. And back to Jared, most collectors like us have discovered Novus, and so those acrylic things can be taken care of. But I know exactly where you are, because I've gone to enough events where you see the scuffs of traveling, just repackaging something back up. And we
go through bottles of that stuff at shows usually.
We're all. It's where I was getting ready to go with that. All of us, we get the cases done, and by 4:00, in the afternoon, it's like, what the hell happened? People breathing on them literally scratched them, and there we are, microfiber and Novus polishing the cases. But yeah, we do give it a lot of thought. It's definitely not something we're dismissive of. And to Jared's point, there might come the piece where we're like, this definitely needs this. But for now, we've been pretty comfortable with how we've done everything. But I've ebbed and flowed on that over the years. Sometimes I like a case because, like you, I was collecting back when icons put everything in a case. I was telling Jared, they put the Velociraptor claw in a case. I mean, everything. The little noisy cricket got a case. And so, and then having worked for a bunch of different companies over the years, I've seen how that evolves, and everyone wrestles with it. And now we've just got to the point where this feels right for us. Let's be known for the collectible. Let's be known for all the work that we put into the individual replica, so we don't have to drive that price up. And thank goodness the way things are going now, with tariffs and extra expenses. Thank God that's our business model. Thank God that's how we package and design things, because every little bit's going to help there. But hopefully I answered that in some small way, or we.
No, that's. I didn't think it was an oversight. But I wanted to realize it was a business decision, and it makes sense. Yeah. Like I said, but it was, like I said, the good news story was set up to accept a cover. So if you've got a good acrylic guy or gal that can hook you up, that is awesome.
Yeah, and we also include a file. A lot of people still don't realize when we can, we'll post the files for various displays, like the bat glyph is another example of what are we going to do here? How's it going to be displayed? So we started noticing when we were at shows, people would be like, I love the way you displayed that. So on our site, when people go to order, it'll be listed. Just click here. And if you have the means to cut it, make one, or send it to somebody, we provide that free. And we plan to continue doing that. We do that with the glyph, the Goonies collection, a number of other pieces. And we'll keep doing that when we can. So as people get printers and cutters and become more familiar with the tech, it's just something we'll do to make it easier on them.
Yeah, I think even putting a cover over your super scan is a possibility too. If you're displaying like a detective special or something like that on there, or the bat glyph or whatever you're going to be displaying, I think you can put a cover well. I think it would look well.
Yeah, the super stands, it's going to be interesting to see what people do with those. We're getting a lot of good feedback, what people plan to do as they place orders. They're like, I'm going to do this with it. I'm going to do that with it. Those will be along. Amy, when are we looking for those?
Next week.
Yeah.
I got the entry order today, and we've got clearance going right now. I'm expecting to hear that they've cleared customs like any moment now. So yeah, we'll have them next week.
Okay. Cool.
I would love it next week, because I want to get a couple. I do want to get a couple because I want to have some stuff displayed on it. And I've been intentionally avoiding buying other display stands for months now because I want those to put up. I have some existing pieces that I want to display and just kind of show it off. Like, yeah, I mean, look how cool this is. And I love that we can give that option to the collector where anything we have pretty much, I think, can display on the super stand, correct? Like,
I mean, you could even get the bottle on it if you really wanted to, but
that's ambitious.
That might be weird, but yeah.
I mean, that's ambitious, but yeah, I'm excited. But okay, so I'm watching the clock. Daryl, what else you got? Let's jump into the next question.
Yeah, so one of the affinities that I collect is signature editions. Master Replicas back in the day put out a lot of signature editions, and there's a few companies out there that do that as well. And I was wondering, have you guys ever thought of foraying into that element of signature editions for any of your replicas that you make?
We have, and we're dying to do a signature edition with William Catt over anything, because we have an affinity. We love William Catt. Bill, but no, seriously, we talk about it, and the opportunity has presented itself. We've had representatives from any number actually reach out to us. Sometimes we don't always have to chase somebody down. We had an opportunity to do some Harrison Ford signature plaques with the Blade Runner blasters, and we'd love to have done it, but not to the tune of $400 or $500 a signature. Because then it's not a plus up for anybody, right? I mean, it's just too expensive at that point. And then we look at some of our other pieces and just see if it could be a good fit. So far, nothing quite there that we've wanted to run with, because you got to get studio approval for some of this stuff too. And we just live in an age where the talent, it's a little different than it was a few years ago. The talent doesn't need to cooperate with us. They could go to a convention and make hundreds of dollars a signature and then pose for a photo and everything else. So we're like, hey, set still for 2 hours and sign these plaques for this amount of money, the logic gets weird, because then they'll start like, so we talked to somebody over the Lost Boys bottle, for example, and we love all the guys. We love all the Lost Boys. We love them. But we talked to one of the actors in particular, and when you're saying, hey, we want you to sign 200 of these plaques or 150 of these items or whatever, you would think they would just say, okay, my signature is going to cost X number of dollars, but it automatically jumps to, what are you selling it for? So you're like, well, it's got a $3.99 retail on it. Oh, well, I want to charge you $200 a signature. Well, you only charge $50 at a show. What just happened? Well, you're going to get more money for the bottle. They start to get really connected to the retail end of what you do, and you're like, it's not that much of an ad. Jared, you want to talk about that a little bit? We've gone back and forth about that. About, is it a big enough ad to make it worth the effort?
My opinion, personally, as a collector, I do not see the value in a signed piece. In fact, it kind of takes away. Like, I've seen.
Now you're talking about on the piece. You don't like a piece signed, or you're talking about just the plaque?
I don't even like plaques, to be honest.
Oh. Okay.
I know they present well and they look great, and a lot of collectors like them, and I totally respect that. I get it. When I do it, or when I have a piece on display, I know what it's from. I know what it is. I don't need a plaque to remind me, and I'm not really having a lot of people come through where they need to see it like a museum, because I think that's the idea, is that it's a museum grade collectible, and you want to show it off and you want people to see it and see what it is and what it's from. That's cool. Totally get that. But I see a signature on something, and for me, it's like, that just got ruined, because I saw a Master Replicas, like one of their 5-foot Millennium Falcons they had done 25 years ago, or it was one of them. And Harrison Ford had signed it all big across the back of it where he could find a smooth spot. And I thought, somebody just drew on that really awesome Millennium Falcon with a Sharpie. And it took me a second to realize, it's Harrison Ford's signature. And I went, Harrison Ford just ruined that Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, I don't like to see the item signed. But yeah, I've got some favorites that I'd like to have seen on the item. But I don't like it when some companies do the halfway. I'll give you an example. So, like the Mystic Seer, the Twilight Zone fortune telling machine that I've got a couple of. So they did a William Shatner signed edition. I would rather they have lined those things up and he just signed the front of the machine. Mark it, put your DNA on there. Than what they did. They took small little tags that they just FedExed over to him or whatever. He signed little tags, and then they put it behind acrylic and screwed it onto the back of the machine. Well, man, I can do that. I can go get an index card signed and bolt it onto the back of the thing if I want to. I say, if you're going to do it, commit to it, all in. If you're going to sign the item, go. And some things will look nice as long as you can guarantee that the actor is taking a minute. They're not doing like the full on having a stroke signature. It's they actually give it a second. And William Shatner will do that. He does have a nice signature. He does give things a second. It's not like a Tom Brady signature where it's pisses everybody off when they get it. Yeah, I say yeah. There's a fit sometimes. So to answer your question, Daryl, I like it. And if there's a fit and it's appropriate, great. But on something like the Lost Boys bottle, again, I'd love to have any number of guys on that bottle, but nobody would buy it from us, even if we tried to break even. If I paid you pay one guy $50, the next guy $50. Well, now your $3.99 bottle, you're really getting up there. And I think sometimes the item like a Lost Boys bottle, when the actors are otherwise showing up at shows, having their own conventions, you're providing that vehicle too. So whereas people were just taking 8x10s to these guys, I'm sure Jason Patrick has signed a number of Lost Boys bottles at this point. And he is a great guy, by the way. He's an awesome dude. And maybe we'll work something out with him down the road. But people like having something to tote, kind of like the cryo cans. Those go in front of any number of people from Jurassic Park at conventions to get signed. So for now, no, but I like the idea of it. I like it more than Jared does, and I know Amy likes it. So
I know there's other issues too. I can give you an example. I got one funny story and I got an example. So just like Jared was saying, you can go anywhere and get a signature plaque or from a number of sources. But I remember it took almost a whole year to get Josh Brolin to sign a plaque through SWAU because the actor didn't show up to certain events. So they basically had to take him down. And so I understood that, and that was a little bit of a frustration. But the funny story I got for you is I sent off a signature plaque to Gil Gerard, Buck Rogers in the 25th century. He has a active website, and he lives out in the middle of the sticks out in Georgia, pretty close to you, Rye, out in Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. And I sent him a plaque to sign, and it came back, and he didn't remove the Mylar on the plaque to prevent it from the Mylar. So, I said, okay, well, either this is the most smartest man, or he just honestly made a mistake. So I sent him another plaque without the Mylar, and he signed the plaque again, but the signature was better on the Mylar. So, I said he's either the smartest guy ever, and he was just trying to get another. And it wasn't a lot of money; it was like $40. It really wasn't a lot of money. But it was kind of funny. I think he made an honest mistake and just signed the top of the Mylar. And the reason why I wanted that plaque is I married it to a Chronicle Collectibles Thunder Fighter, which is a very rare piece to have. And I thought it would be cool to have either an Aaron Gray or a Gil Gerard type signature piece. So I understand that it's just it's an affinity for it. I don't like signed prop pieces. I'm kind of like Jared. I don't know if signing the Harrison Ford signing my Millennium Falcon would be something I'd want, but I definitely would like a signature plaque or something like that if he's signed as well.
Yeah, and some properties just lend themselves. The reason we've talked about this before, the reason we collect prop replicas is for that tangible connection to a period in time or a given actor, or hey, maybe somebody saw this film with their dad, and I mean, there's so many reasons. Just like with baseball cards or comic books, people collect what they do. But with prop replicas, sometimes the signature, depending on the property, like Star Wars, anything, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, it feels right, right? That these items, you might go the extra mile for the signature. But again, you could point to how accessible these guys are at shows now. And and then you get that little bit of FaceTime. You get the photograph of it being signed. I mean, I think people might tilt that way these days, but we're always listening. So it'll be interesting to comment below. I always forget to say that. It's always good to get everybody's feedback because we do watch and listen, and pay attention to that sort of thing.
It's funny you mentioned Aaron Gray for Battles or Buck Rogers, because that's what she does now. At least 10 years ago when I worked with her, she helps wrangle these talents for conventions and shows to do just that, to sit at tables and sign stuff. So when I worked with her last, she was doing it was Edward James Olmos. God, I forgot his name. New Zealand actor, Maori guy. He was in Lord of the Rings and Spartacus, and a couple other people. So that's what she does. So she wrangles these guys to be at shows and sign stuff like that. And I wonder how many people actually come to her, because she kind of sits behind the scenes. She's not there as Aaron Gray from Buck Rogers. She's there as their representation. But some people have got to recognize her and be like, Aaron Gray, sign this blaster, sign this helmet.
All right, Daryl, what else you got? We're running a little bit long, and I want to get in a couple more questions. So, yeah, man, go.
Yeah, so I got an email last night from the Big Bag Toy Store, and they were basically talking about tariffs, and I think that's something that all collectors like myself are concerned about. I did see an email a couple weeks ago from Factory Entertainment, basically addressing the same thing, and the bottom line up front was they could not commit to the prices anymore, and if the situation changed, they were going to adjust accordingly. But they were basically saying some of the prices that we promised we may not be able to commit to because of what's going on. And so I just was wondering what was Paragon's thoughts on that?
Well, it's a weird time. Yeah. So, difficult for us to speak to what anybody else is doing, but Yeah, we've all got counterparts out there. I've got mine with other companies, and Jared has his, and Amy's hers. So, yeah, it's a difficult time for everybody. I mean, um, uh, there's been a lot of conversations back and forth, but we all know each other. It's a small pond of guys who, people who do what we do. So we do talk and share concerns. As far as Paragon goes, this is one of the things. This is why it's good not to take money up front. This is why it's good not to make people pay for a replica up front, and one run covers the next run, and so on. We even grudgingly, Daryl, you and I spoke about this before. We grudgingly even do the reserve program. That was just because people were hitting us and going, "Hey, I don't want to chase this on the secondary market. I don't want to worry about it selling out. I want to know I've got this piece coming to me, and I'm putting my order in now." So that's when we prefer to do an interest list. Like, hey, just stick your hand in the air, register your electronic interest. We will contact you first when we know this stuff is on the assembly line, and that's been good to us. So what we do is when we know a piece is on the line, everything's coming, we will open up a soft reserve where people can put 10% down, whatever we set it at, and it's fully refundable. If somebody feels like the goalpost is getting moved back or they just get itchy, we give them their money back. And as Tom has said, and we've said a million times, by the time you hear about a run from us, we're already committed to it. We're going to make it no matter what. If whether the first orders, it's happening no matter what. The money has been spent. So it's the things you don't hear about, and that's right now that's a luxury to us. So what we're trying to do is, if there's an SRP out there on something, and we've already said, hey, this is what it's going to be. Back when it was a 54% tariff just a week ago, we were like, hey, we're in. Don't worry about a thing. We're not moving things. Then we were supposed to go to 104%, and we skipped that and went to 124% tariff. Yesterday, within 12 hours, I actually moved twice. Yeah, it's difficult to forecast right now, but we're still sticking to our guns. I mean, we'll eat the difference. But what we will do, we're going to be a little more shy about sharing SRPs till we see which way this storm is blowing. And that's just so we, no, it's kind of like when you go to the fridge for something and there's the jug and you get your mouth ready for something and then it's empty. There's nothing worse than that. I had my mouth ready for some orange juice and now there's no orange juice. That can happen with pricing, especially when your prop barometer, you're all excited about getting something. We don't want to do that to anybody. So what we are doing is full speed ahead. All of our runs that are in pre-production and in various stages of getting to the collector, we are full speed ahead. I mean, we were dumb enough to start Paragon during a pandemic. We're silly enough to keep our foot on the gas right now too. I don't know what everybody else is doing, but I think you're going to see some funky stuff. I think you're going to see things change a good bit. Jared, you want to add to that? Amy, you guys got something?
It helps that we are a smaller operation. We can afford more dexterity in how we move and how we plan stuff.
Bob and weave.
Yeah, we can bob and weave a little bit. The past week though has been a yo-yo. Yeah, I was telling Ryland yesterday, like, man, I got whiplash from all this. This is, It is what it is. Not much we can do about it right now, except plan accordingly and as best we can around it. I think it's the bigger players in this field that are going to be really up against a wall. Yeah, when you've got retail placement at Walmart, Target, etc., those are planned months ahead. That stuff is decided. Christmas is decided right now for Walmart and Target. They know their orders are in, stuff is being made, price has been agreed on. Now that's a wreck. It's a tough place to be in for them because they're dealing in such high volume and it's so far ahead. But yeah, like I said, we can afford to bob and weave, plan a little better. It's hard to get into too much detail without saying exactly what we're doing, but
go ahead, Amy. I'm sorry.
Anything that I've really heard is a lot of our customers reaching out and saying, "Hey, I've got this on pre-order. How much can I expect this to increase?" And when we were talking about it a week ago, even then it was, "Hey guys, we're just going to hold our pricing for the things that we've established pricing for because we don't know how things are going to go. No one else knows how things are going to go, and our customers shouldn't necessarily have to bear all of that burden." Now, we also do have a great business model where we don't necessarily assign an SRP when we first put it up on our website. It's great to be able to say, "Hey, look, this is the Dr. Sirizawa bubbler that we're putting together for Toho, and we can show you what it looks like, and we're really excited about it, and we're not going to assign a price to it right now." Because
Thank God we didn't.
right, exactly.
Or the oxygen destroyer, or any number of things, which we just got a wonderful video back on the oxygen destroyer. We've got a great prototype with an opening, and oh, it's so awesome. But essentially, what this amounts to is, if we put, and we will, anything that we put in production right now, we're trying to dance around this 125% tariff. It could go up. What happens if? So nobody knows which way this is going to go. If you told me a week ago that we'd go from 54 to 125, I would say you're crazy. Chicken Little, the sky's not falling. I would have said that was ridiculous. But here we are, and it is worth noting, as we've talked about before. A lot of people, Jared and I have talked about this. Amy, we go back and forth with this. Is There's this perception that people manufacture overseas because it's cheaper. You do this because it's cheaper in China. No, anything that we're manufacturing in China is because there's nowhere else on the planet you can make it. Now, sure, you can make some stuff out of India, and there's certain things they just don't do well there. You can do some stuff out of Mexico. There's certain things they do great, some things they do bad. There's concessions anywhere you take a project, anywhere in the world. But high-end collectibles, statues, well-made items, these factories have been dialed in for decades. It is what they do. And I can't take Jurassic Park night vision goggles to anybody in the United States who could do those. It's just not within. Now, this is where I'll get phone calls and emails, and yeah, I hear you. You can make it. Yeah. But not at any reasonable price where I can't sell it to someone for less than $2,000. So that's the problem. And then the companies who do what we do, none of us got a heads up when we set our SRPs on the night vision goggles. That was back when we knew what time of day it was. Now you don't know whether to shit or wind your watch. It is insane right now. So we're gonna do what we do. We're not going anywhere. Again, everything we're doing is still going into production. But we are having to look around a little bit and see where we might have to run some other projects if we can. But that notion that, hey, industry's coming back and don't worry about it. No, nobody's firing up toy companies in the U.S. next week to make up for this 125% tariff. It's a difficult one.
Even if there was, 125% increase in price would be the least of your concerns.
Yeah.
I think somebody did a study on if you took the iPhone out of Foxconn factory in mainland China and did it in the U.S. to do everything in the U.S., source materials, programming, electronics, packaging, the whole thing that gets you an iPhone in the box, it was close to $20,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's if you could even find the places to do it, which there aren't. And it takes years to ramp up to that kind of infrastructure.
Yeah. And, yeah, it's nuts. Well said. I mean, it's as simple as that. And the fact of the matter is, small businesses like ours, there's going to be collateral damage over this. There will be businesses that close. They won't be able to survive this. As we've said before, and I definitely don't want to make it sound like, hey, we're not allergic to making money. We have families and bills to pay. But there's a reason we do what we do, and it's for love of the hobby. We love what we do, and we're also not fit for gainful employment. So we want this to work out. This needs to be ferreted out and sorted. And unfortunately, some of our friends are out of jobs, and it's happening now. And you're going to see this degrade. You're going to see this if this thing doesn't get sorted. It's going to go bad, because we're talking about discretionary income. We're talking about this is ultimately a niche. It's a hobby, and yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, I'm concerned about which way it's headed, but we're okay. And we're brutally honest on these things. Like we've said, we've got too much time and energy into Paragon. We're still a young company. We're establishing our tribe. People are still finding their way to us, and but we've always been honest, and so it's a good question, Daryl. It's fair. It's concerning is the short answer. But right now we're not changing anything. But you will see us a little slower to put SRPs on things because again, I don't want to wet. Like I was saying about the going to the fridge. I don't want to wet somebody's whistle with an SRP and get somebody into something, and then we got to pull that rug out. We're changing it to this, and there's some crazy shock. The fact of the matter is we're gonna stay price appropriate, and we don't want to pull the big switcheroo. So as it sets with everything else, if you're on our interest lists or anything, it actually speaks to a reason to get on the interest list, because worst case scenario, if something got funky, we would say, look, we're going to honor first right of refusal to everybody who's on our interest list, but moving forward, the price is going to be XYZ. So we would reward somebody's loyalty at this point for, jumping on a list or something like that and being into what we do, and then say, all right, everybody who's on our interest list, you're good to go. But otherwise, this is moving to that. So, and that's if that happened. I'm just saying that might be a worst case scenario. But our plan is straight ahead. Jared and I are still all over the planet doing research and trips to studios, and Amy's still taking care of everybody. She's available any minute, every day to answer anybody's questions, assuage any concerns. But yeah, it's a weird time. It's a nervous time, and this laissez-faire. Oh, industry's coming back and all this other stuff. No, that industry is not coming back. There is a very specific set of people who do this thing, who make these things happen. So yeah, an ugly misconception that you're doing this in China because it's cheap. No, we're doing this in China because it's precise, and these factories are dialed in on what they do. Simple as that.
Well, first of all, again, thank you for that clarity. I think there's this misconception that you can just move this somewhere else, but the tooling's not even there to bring us back to somewhere else. So it's kind of refreshing to hear somebody say, "Hey, this is the real deal, and this is what's happening, and this is why we do certain things." But who else shares that information? Nobody. So it's refreshing to hear that, and I appreciate it. And no, the other question: when is your next licensing convincing? When do you expect maybe to release some new ideas on what you may see as future product? Would be probably my last question.
Okay, Jared, Amy, you guys want to take that one? I got an answer. I just
it depends on a lot of factors. Number one being the partners that we're working with, the licenses that we are, collaborating with to make these collectibles. It's kind of up to them how they approve us and what we share going forward. And the tariff situation is also making it difficult to navigate that field because you don't want to share something too early. There is a chance that some things may not happen now because of what's going on, but really it's because of we just want to make sure all the checks are marked on our boxes with our licensors, that they're seeing and approving everything. Everything we're making is passing their approval standards and our standards too as well. So but we do have this year is pretty heavy with new announcements, new products, new properties. So the best thing I can say to anybody is watch these videos, sign up for our newsletter. As you said, we're very forthcoming. We're pretty transparent with what we talk about and what we want to say to a degree that's acceptable with our licensors. We don't want to say too much and get in trouble, but when we can, we want to sing it from the rooftops that, hey, we're working on this. Check it out. Come look at it. Get in line.
I enjoyed watching Jared squirm a little on that answer. Yeah. So what he is saying is, with some all studios have a different way that we can announce what we do. Yeah. Some are just looser than others, and as we're really starting to hyper focus on our relationship with Toho and Disney. Disney, of course, has a very specific way of how they want these projects announced, and there's a time and place and a way. We have probably 24 things in production and pre-production right now. So it's a matter of when do we announce that, because we really don't like to even, we like Zirazawa. So we showed the Dr. Zirazawa bubbler. It's more of a coming soon. We haven't say, hey, look for this in 2 months, look for it in 3 months, whatever. But you can rest assured, by the time we've shown it off, we already know what it's going to cost us and how long it's going to spend in the factory and when we're going to ultimately get it in the U.S. and be able to offer it. But there's like 8 other Godzilla projects I want to talk about, and it's killing me not to. Godzilla related. There's just so much to mine from that property. But it's not appropriate right now. And then the Disney stuff, oh my goodness. Because think of how vast Disney is. You guys know what we do? Of course, there's tons of different things coming. And we'll be able to spend a little more time with that. Give us a couple months. Give us a couple months to get these through various stages of production and getting our thumbs up for our socials from their team over there, and we'll get into more. So it's not like when we drop the gate on that, there'll just be 1 or 2 things. I mean, I think people will be surprised at the number of properties that we're. There's attraction pieces, there's classic Disney pieces, there's Fox pieces. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming, and when I say that Disney and Toho will get the bulk of our attention, yeah, we plan to do quite a bit with them. It's exciting, and we continue. We talked about not long ago. We just had our archive visit in Orlando. We've got a Burbank archive visit next week. So it's just onward and upward. We're really excited about where it's going, but it's a valid question. But simply put, we share what we can when we can.
Yeah. So I can't wait for the Kaiju coming to you announcement. So that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, we're excited, man. But thank you so much for being on with us. Did you? We got a second. Did you have anything else? We'll give you one more. You got one more question?
I think that's it. Like I said, your messaging and your forthrightness and your ability to share is appreciated, and I just wanted to let you say that again. Collectors like to know where things are coming from and what's going on, and you guys are the most forthright that I know of, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Man, thank you so much. I mean, that's just too kind. It's flattering. It's more than we deserve. I appreciate it. Amy, Jared, you guys got anything else on the way out? Are we done?
All good. I love that collection.
Yep. I'm so glad we got to talk to you in person today. I know we've emailed multiple times back and forth. You always make me smile when I get emails from you. You're just so wonderful, Daryl.
Thanks, Amy. I hope Miss Murderfingers came back to your bush as well.
We haven't seen her.
Daryl's been paying such attention to these videos. My mother and like a couple other people. But man, Daryl's been paying attention. That's awesome. Thank you so much for watching the videos.
You are so wonderful.
Thank y'all.
All right, Daryl, I hope you'll join us again down the road, man. Thank you for coming on.
Welcome anytime. I'll be happy to. Thank you much.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, y'all have a great weekend.